Hey, what's up, David? This is a quick demo video for you for your Shadowfoil props slash Corbanth Luke V1. So, as you know, there is a V1 and then there's also a V2 that you could get, both designed by Shadowfoil and sold through Corbanth. This being the V1, there are some differences, mainly in the control box and I think a little bit in the actual crystal chamber design. So, in this particular one, if I can zoom in on it, still a 2-button setup. Your two switches are these two this black box right here, but if you press it on the forward side, it's your power. And if you press it back here, it's auxiliary. And of course, you've got some working red and green arrows that I'll show you here in a second. But on the V1 version, you bring your wires up through the switch box and wire them in place here. So that means I have to do a static chassis with a static battery and a recharge port. On the V2, what happens is that these were made into plungers. So there's just two plungers underneath the switch box. So the actual tactile switches are in the chassis and you can make it removable. So just so you're aware of the differences here. This is a static chassis with a static battery, and I'll show you that. All right. This is your crystal chamber that comes provided with the kit, which is very cool. It's got two crystals, one that you can see very easily right here, and then you've got one up here that lights up as well, and I'll show you that here in a second. All right. I've got your blade plug in here for now, just to show you how it fits on there. But we, of course, take this off when we want to put a blade in it. So we'll just unscrew that. When you look inside of here, you have, this is a V4 CCS blade connector. So it's got a bunch of LEDs on here that light up. Now you'll notice you don't have a lot of blade depth right there, because when you want to put a blade in, you take your blade plug out, which does have some shine through, by the way. You can see that hole through there. All right, that's your blade plug. You take that out and you put this in. This is your blade extender. So you just take that and screw it right into here, and we will leave this here for the duration of the demo. But it has 3 blade retention screws, all equally spaced from each other, and that gives you a lot more blade depth for a 1-inch blade. So it holds a blade very well. All right. To get to the chassis, what you want to do is you want to unscrew this entire section here, and it does come apart in a few pieces, and we'll talk about that, but we'll take it off first. So you can see it coming apart from here. Before we go over the chassis, we'll go over this piece right here. If you don't like the way that this piece is clocked, all you have to do is loosen up the back. And this comes off, by the way. I have the vented pommel on right now for sound, but you also have the static pommel if you want to display this and have it more screen accurate. But of course, this is not optimal to have if you're going to be turning it on. So this will be back in your box. All right. You would just loosen this up a little bit. That allows you to turn this however you like. And then when you get it to where you like, hold it in place and tighten this pommel back down. And when you tighten the pommel down, now this is all locked in. Of course, you could take this off, but there's really no need to. But that all locks that in. That's how you clock that. So that's that piece. All right. Coming over to your chassis. So a static chassis, the chassis retention screws are the 2 screws that hold in the control box. So you'll never see them, but they go into the chassis and they lock it down in place. All right, you've got a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost Elite speaker right here. Looking over here, you have a 1.3mm recharge port. So there is an adapter that you buy from the custom Saber shop. I can give you a link to that if you like. It just fits on their standard recharge cable, which I can also provide a link to. And that's how you charge this guy. Very easy to do. All right. I did design my own, if we can focus in on that. I do design and print my own 1.3mm kill key. So that's just something that we're just going to pull out here in a second. All right. But if you look in there, and you've got access to your micro USB and your SD card. So you just take a pair of tweezers, reach in there, pop it out. The SD card on a CFX is a little bit different than a Profi. A Profi, you would just grab it and pull it out. On a CFX, it actually has a spring-loaded system. So before you take it out, you want to push it in, let that spring release, and it will come out a little bit, pull it out. And then same thing when you're putting it in. When you put it in, push it all the way in against the spring, let go, it will lock in place, and that's how you do that in case you want to make any changes. I do have your 2 sound fonts on here from Kyberphonic and KSith, and then they're both Luke fonts. And then I also have also left the stock CFX sound font package on here so you could play around with that. So I think in total you have about 18 sound fonts on here. All right. Coming over to the grenade section, we're going to take this off for a second and talk about it. All right. It is a tight fit, so just take your time, unscrew it here. You have a few different options when it comes to this guy. When you see your crystal chamber, you have a 7-pin PCB right here. All right. I chose not to go with a lit one because I didn't want any light shining through this little gap, and that tends to happen if I go with a lit PCB here. So a normal 7-pin PCB makes contact with this blade side PCB right here that you can see, but you just unscrew this piece. This, of course, is the grenade section that has the crystal reveal cut out in it. All right. So you would just take this piece, screw it right on, lock it down, and you're good to go. If you don't want to have the crystal chamber revealed when the saber is together, you also have these two options. So you have the uneven option, which is right here, and then you have the idealized grenade section with all of the rings being equal spacing. All right. Either one of these you can use, or you can use the one with the crystal chamber cutout. They're all the same size. They're exactly the same minus some outside aesthetics. What you would do is just simply unscrew this top portion, screw it into one of these different grenade sections, and then you're good to go. All right, but for the sake of the demo, we're going to use the one with the cutout so that you can see the crystal chamber. So we're going to take this in here, screw it back in. When you do, just realize it's a tight fit. Don't worry about that. It's by design. Everything's just a super tight fit on this guy. Lock it down tight. Come down here and lock this in. We're going to come over here and take the kill key out.
Go away!
All right. And then we're going to take our back piece that we took off earlier. We're just going to screw it back on. Screw it down all the way tight. You get your red and green LEDs going. We can come over here in the front and hit power. So now all those LEDs on your blade connector are all lit up. Here you can see both of your crystals. So you've got that one, it's got its own Neopixel accent. And then this one has its own Neopixel accent as well. So they react to the auxiliary button. On a CFX, to get blade lock up, you hold down the aux button, and that's really when you see the effects on everything. And we'll turn it off, just like that. All right, let's throw a blade in this guy. This does take a 1-inch diameter Neopixel blade. So we'll lock this down real quick. I don't know that I'll use all 3 of your blade retention screws because it's not really necessary for me showing you that it works. But depending on how hard you want to swing this guy around, you may want to lock down all 3. All right, but with the blade in, this is, of course, a test blade. But it is programmed for a full-length blade. In fact, I think I programmed it for 128 LEDs. All right, so you got your blade locked in, hit power. So you wanted the crystals to match the blade. That's exactly what they do. Green blade, green crystal chamber. Blaster bolts just tap auxiliary. Like I said, blade lock up, hold it down. And we'll turn it off by holding down power. If you want to go to another sound font, just hold down auxiliary.
Go away!
Whoops, hold it down.
Sound bank selection. Master Skywalker.
Are you a Jedi?
When you find one you like, just hold the switch down.
He doesn't want to go with you.
All right,
He
then.
wants your permission.
Whoops, sorry. This is the rescue. Do a flash on class just by hitting it. I'll go ahead and turn it off. And then you can cycle through the rest of the CFX font package. All right, so we'll go ahead and break this guy back down. I need to find out which one I used. There it is. Loosen that up just a little bit. We'll take the blade out and then come over here and unscrew this again. You don't have to do this every time if you don't want to. CFX does have a deep sleep mode, so you can leave this sitting around and then just come back and hit power and it will work fine. But for the sake of this demo and then also to kill the power and make sure it stays off through shipping, we're going to turn on here. Take the kill key, put it in the recharge port, press it down, and it kills power. All right, and that is basically your Luke V1. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will get this out in the mail to you today. Thanks, David.